Chapter 1: Poison Plots and a House of Wax. Imagine two chariots racing down a dusty path, wheels kicking up clouds, laughter cutting through the tension. The racers, barely teenagers, drive with an intensity beyond their years. Their hair whips behind them, eyes gleaming with innocent rivalry, unaware how stakes and envy will soon darken their family bond. Standing beside the racing track, Prince Duryodhana watches quietly. A flicker of jealousy passes across his face, unnoticed by all except himself. This fleeting glimpse foreshadows decades of bitterness, pulling kings and kingdoms into turmoil. It all began years before, with strange births hinting at uneven destinies. King Dhritarashtra of Hastinapura, blind from birth, watches helplessly through hearsay and whispers as his wife Gandhari births 100 sons. These are the Kauravas, born from a miraculous, though unsettling, process. Gandhari's pregnancy, resulting in a strange lump, then divided beneath the care of nervous hands into 100 vessels. From these peculiar beginnings arose Duryodhana and his 99 brothers, destined to shape tragic conflict. But there aren't only the Kauravas. King Pandu, Dhritarashtra's younger brother and once rightful heir, suffers from a curse that forbids him from fathering children. His wives turn instead to divine intervention. From prayers to gods come 5 noble sons, the Pandavas. The eldest, Yudhishthira, known for calm wisdom; Bhima, whose boundless strength inspires admiration; Arjuna, an archer without match; and twins Nakula and Sahadeva, agile, intelligent, and loyal. These extraordinary births set the board unevenly. 100 brothers facing 5 cousins of divine heritage. All their quarrels could have been solved by simpler succession if not for an oath of promise that changed everything. Long ago, wise Bhishma, grandfather of all princes, had made a pledge that echoes through time. To protect a fragile alliance, Bhishma vowed eternal bachelorhood, giving up claims to the throne, children, or heirs. Loyalty turned noble Bhishma into a solitary spectator, watching helplessly as royal rivalries brewed among the younger generation, trapped by his oath. With age, the young princes grow. They study archery and warfare in royal families and education aimed at kingship. Training ground contests become heated. Arrows fly precisely, landing in targets as instructors observe. Yet the competitor's heart begins to harden. Arjuna easily outstrips his cousins in archery, effortlessly mastering impossible skills. Instead of admiration, jealousy boils beneath Duryodhana's skin. Bitterness grows silently, like a shadow lengthening below unnoticed. Soon jealousy is no longer quiet. It drives Duryodhana to perform darker deeds. Driven by envy at Bhima's superhuman strength, Duryodhana invites his cousin to a riverside gathering. A reasoning smile and friendly invitations conceal dangerous intent. Poison seeps silently into Bhima's meal. As he takes nectar-like milk sweets, the toxin enters silently, gripping him suddenly when sleep claims him. Impassive currents carry him below the surface, leaving his survival doubtful. Yet beneath the waves, snakes dwelling in underwater kingdoms spot and save him. Awakened, refreshed, and stronger, Bhima returns quietly, startling those who plotted his end, harboring a newfound wariness about family trust. When poison fails, subtler tactics follow. Duryodhana enlists a trusted servant, Purochana, to construct something beautiful yet lethal, a grand palace built entirely of lacquer, highly flammable, shaped elegantly to conceal disaster beneath glittering false splendor. Guards stand beside carved pillars that disguise brittle tinder within, artistry masking incendiary intent. The Pandavas receive the palace as a gift from Duryodhana, friendship veiled with layers of deception. But not everyone in Hastinapura believes deceptive tranquility. The wise advisor Vidura sees clearly through thin disguises. On this treacherous game board, he knows honesty brings danger. forcing him to speak warnings cleverly in disguised riddles. He whispers cryptic words to Yudhishthira about vigilance, concealed passages, and secret exits hidden carefully in palace design. Beware fire, he cryptically urges the eldest Pandava, and find safety in tunnels crafted by those who expect darkness to fall without warning. And the darkness comes swiftly under the cover of a moonless night. The well-planned trap ignites, flames spreading rapidly, swallowing corridors and walls built from disguised resin and wax. The quiet home turns suddenly into crackling heat, infernos roaring hungrily everywhere. Within moments, a palace meant to shelter royalty becomes a funeral pyre. But thanks to Vidura's warning, the Pandavas vanish down a hidden tunnel, emerging safely away, leaving behind only ashes and charred remnants. Their mother Kunti calmly urges the princes. Destiny itself favors those whose eyes remain open. Miles away, Hastinapura mourns loudly and publicly. Town criers declare the tragedy bitterly. Pandavas presumed dead, bodies lost utterly among charred ruins. In private, behind closed doors, Duryodhana congratulates himself, silently victorious, yet feeling uneasy, his plot succeeding when poison failed. Yet whispers in distant villages start undermining his triumph. Fishermen and travelers tell strange stories, survivors escaping, traveling quietly through forest paths, living shadows fleeing silently through hidden routes. Travelers weren't wrong. Upon escaping flames, the Pandavas sheltered in wilderness, woods, adopting disguises to escape detection. It is here Bhima encounters an entirely different Hazarda, fierce demoness named Hidimba, who unexpectedly falls for his strength and straightforward heart. Once enemies, their mutual respect blossoms swiftly into marriage, soon bringing forth a unique son born of human and demon blood. Ghatotkacha, large, fierce, and gentle, inherits both his mother's supernatural abilities and his father's mighty heroism, becoming a living symbol that boundaries between enemy and ally are blurrier than imagined. Yet Hastinapura's citizens sense unrest beneath this facade of false mourning. Rumors start dancing through marketplaces, whispered among cloth merchants, farmers, smiths, and milkmaids. Something unexpected emerges. Pandavas survived, living hidden from court spies. These whispers unsettle palace intrigues, filling council members with subtle dread at their earlier miscalculations. If true, rivalry hasn't ended. Beneath polite greetings hides lingering unease, tempered by fear of which prince might someday claim the kingdom again. Even nature breathes uneasy warnings into Hastinapura's evenings. Jackals howl as twilight falls, their cries echoing through empty streets, sending chills through anxious hearts. The citizens, superstitious and observant, interpret their eerie wails as omens hinting peace might falter easily. Such signs magnify tension, reminding the people that calmness is only temporary. Safety bends with shifting winds, fragile against destinies already ordained, ready to surface and shatter pretense apart without mercy. In this charged atmosphere, new whispers weave among people. The kingdom of Panchala announces a Swayamvara, traditional marriage ritual, planned for their princess, Draupadi. Kings and princes across lands will compete for her hand. Amid turbulent times, rumors speak clearly of a woman whose choice might reshape kingdoms. Not merely a royal alliance, but a catalyst, stirring further rivalries, alliances, promises, and betrayals. Yet no hand could foresee how entirely destiny might depend, and how swiftly it can change through simple games. Unnoticed amid grand feasts, whispered rivalries, archery contests, and secret escapes, another game silently waits its turn. Dice carved lovingly from bone or ivory sit motionlessly in pockets. A single toss, a simple contest involving gambling skill and royal pride, waits unchanged for those who assume fate remains controllable. As we leave this uneasy calm, beneath stars twinkling over restless Hastinapura, we stand on the precipice where compassion twists into vengeance and rivalry shapes war. family ties already frayed may soon shatter entirely, and a kingdom's fate hinges quietly waiting patiently until its path is decided by the innocent tossing of dice. Chapter 2. A princess won, then lost at dice. A hush filled the watching crowd. Every eye tracked Arjuna carefully, glued to the graceful line of his arm as he raised the bow. The spinning target, suspended high in the air, glinted brightly in the sunlight, rotating constantly, mocking even the finest marksman. Noble princes from every kingdom had already failed, unable even to string the impossibly stiff bow. Thousands gathered in anticipation, hearts beat fast. Would anyone rise to this impossible challenge? Then Arjuna stepped forward, his face serene, eyes fixed steadily above. He inhaled slowly, drew the bowstring with practiced effortlessness, and released. The arrow flashed upward, a streak of fierce certainty. It pierced the spinning eye perfectly, effortlessly, in a single attempt. The arena gasped, cheers erupted, and quickly turned to baffled murmurs when people realized exactly who this victor was. A simple Brahmin, dressed plainly, seemingly ordinary. But the truth was another matter entirely. You see, Draupadi's Swayamvarath marriage contest was far more than a simple test of skill. It was a political crossroads, a turning point to shift alliances and alter power balances throughout the entire Indian subcontinent. Kings and princes from kingdoms, large and small, gathered, hoping to claim her hand, and with it, a powerful new relationship tied to the prosperous land of Panchala. Whoever married the princess gained glory and advantage in a delicate chessboard of human ambition, alliances, and tensions. Draped in disguised humility, the Pandavas, 5 famed brothers whose rumored death months earlier shocked India, watched silently among the Brahmin crowd. They had wandered as exiles, hidden from the world, careful not to reveal their identity to many. Quietly attending this royal occasion seemed another step in their delicate, uncertain journey. But Arjuna's distinctive skill was unmistakable. As his true identity spread, shock rippled outward astonishment, disbelief, admiration, even envy. Everyone realized the impossible had happened. These brothers, long thought dead beneath ash and ruin, had returned. And now Draupadi's fate intertwined inseparably with theirs. She had unknowingly chosen a hero long presumed lost. Among the spectators observing keenly was Krishna, the shrewd young prince of Dwaraka, with eyes bright and dark and endlessly curious. Spotting this quiet, unexpected victory, Krishna saw something deeply significant: a friendship opportunity, an alliance worth cultivating earnestly. Approaching the brothers with warm admiration, the young prince formed a bond that afternoon, a powerful friendship that would shape destiny itself, stretching far into future conflicts and challenges. As the Pandavas joyfully returned home, Arjuna shouted playfully from the doorway, "Mother, we've brought home something truly wonderful today." Without seeing or thinking, their mother Kunti offered a tired, habitual response, words she immediately wished to retract. "Whatever you've brought, share it equally amongst yourselves." These innocent words bore profound consequences. Suddenly, Draupadi found herself destined to wed all 5 brothers. At first astonishing, nearly scandalous, swiftly elevated by the brothers' great virtue into a remarkable moment of unity. Through quiet resolve and consensus, despite initial confusion, Draupadi became wife and partner to each brother in turn, bound fully to them all by honor, love, and shared destiny. Following these events, the Pandavas claimed their rightful place in politics and history. Guided by Krishna's counsel, they received a rugged, unwanted piece of dry land and, with vision and persistence, transformed it into the city of Indraprastha, glittering jewel upon the earth. It was the gifted architect Maya, master of building illusions and exquisite craftsmanship, who created this stunning city. Gardens flourished, temples rose gracefully, streams trickled gently between flowering trees, and dazzling illusions played out beautifully across floors and pools. Maya's skill was unmatched, and in this newly risen capital, he wrought an extraordinary palace, beautiful, strange, otherworldly. Halls of gleaming crystal, artfully mirrored pools of water, creating clever illusions to entertain, amaze, and subtly intimidate those who entered. Now, it happened one day that Duryodhana, proud prince of Hastinapura and cousin of the Pandavas, visited the shining palace of Indraprastha. Proud, often jealous, he strode confidently through the magnificent hallways when suddenly he stumbled, stepping onto an exquisite floor of crystal illusion, thinking it was a pool of crystal clear water. His awkward confusion echoed through the shocked silence, and suddenly the entire hall erupted into laughing whispers. Quickly, burning with embarrassment, Duryodhana vowed inwardly never to forgive that moment. Petty though the experience might appear, the injury left scars on his pride, deeper than anyone could imagine at that momenta. Humiliation that sparked slow-burning flames of vengeance. Quietly sensing Duryodhana's anger and resentment, his clever uncle, Shakuni, saw opportunity. He had always kept crooked dice tucked safely inside his sleeve, dice loaded to ensure his victory. Shakuni gently proposed to Duryodhana a faint, profoundly dangerous proposition, a seemingly innocent game of dice, inviting Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandava and king famous for fairness, honesty, righteousness, to visit Hastinapura and play a friendly game of chance. Upon accepting the invitation, Yudhishthira and his family traveled to Hastinapura without suspicion, believing fully in the innocence of the invitation and their host's friendship and honor. They arrived trustingly, warmly, unaware of the blades hidden within smiles. In the game's supposedly simple, noble, harmless, the rigged dice turned fate swiftly into cruelty. Yudhishthira began losing slowly, gamble after gamble descending into ruin. In a matter of moments, he'd lost everything: lands, treasures, reputation, even freedom itself. Finally, heartbroken, confused yet unable to resist the momentum, he recklessly wagered Draupadi, losing the most precious human being he could imagine in one misguided moment of faith. Chaos erupted, and Draupaditha's proud, cherished princess won fairly in a heroic challenge, found herself publicly dragged into court as captive property. Yet, within the humiliation that followed in an open royal courtroom, Draupadi refused to bend, silent strength radiating from her proud, unyielding heart. As they attempted to shame her by removing her sari publicly, something extraordinary, miraculous happened. Her garment extended infinitely, without end, flowing softly like an unbroken stream of grace, dignity, and quiet resistance. Her defiance was powerful, subtle, and dignified. Everyone watched, mesmerized, ashamed. No one could miss this quiet wonder right before them. A miracle etched undeniably, memorably, onto everyone's minds. Eventually, family pressure and increasingly uneasy murmurs throughout the courtroom forced Dhritarashtra, the blind king of Hastinapura, father of Duryodhana, to concede. He restored Draupadi to freedom, gave back wealth, reputation, lands, and let the Pandavas safely depart. Yet this moment of restored justice proved tragically fleeting. Shakuni whispered softly again in the darkness of the night, encouraging another challenge, another game, one last toss of dice. Exasperatingly, heartbreakingly, Yudhishthira agreed, once again losing everything, sentencing the Pandavas to 13 long years of exile. As their land was stolen, titles stripped away once more, Draupadi swore, voice fierce, steady, and powerful, that someday this court would echo with justice instead of treachery. Thus they left, with nothing but dignity and resolve left intact. Heads high but hearts aching, the brothers and Draupadi stepped quietly, solemnly out of civilization, towards the edge of a deep, shadowy forest, starting a journey of exile, hardship, introspection, and preparation. For though today justice seemed distant, fate always has a curious way of bringing balance. Chapter 3. Secrets of the Forest and Divine Weapons. Imagine standing beneath a clear night sky. Deep darkness, sprinkled with countless points of starlight. Underneath this immense dome, 5 noble warriors, who once ruled opulent halls, now shelter humbly beneath ancient trees, learning survival from the pure earth beneath them. The Pandavasnable princes, now stripped of their wealth, enthroned begin new routines. Instead of royal banquets, they search the forest floors for edible roots, wild berries, and clear spring water. Instead of fine silk and gold jewelry, they're clothed lightly in bark garments. Life takes on a simpler rhythm, a humbler tempo, where each day is measured not in wealth or political alliances, but by basic survival. Evenings find them seated around a low-burning campfire. Here, the gentle flames flicker softly across serious faces. At these quiet moments, the scene shifts, illuminated by the calming yet poignant stories of the sage Markandeya. Markandeya, wise and ageless, weaves tales not simply to entertain, but to teach deep truths concealed inside simple stories. Each hardship endured by the Pandavas transforms into lessons of courage, patience, humility, and moral wisdom. Slowly but surely, through struggle, suffering becomes their quiet teacher. One day, deep in the calmness of the wooded hills, Bhimathi's strong, broad-shouldered brother, known for unparalleled physical might, ventures alone through thick jungle trails. There, amidst thick branches and cooling shade, he stumbles upon an elderly monkey blocking his path. He attempts kindly at first, instructing the animal gently to move aside. But strangely, this monkey seems indifferent, immovable, even when nudged by the mighty Bhima. Irritated by this puzzle, Bhima uses his great strength to move the monkey's tail, which, oddly enough, seems heavier than a mountain itself, unmoving against his powerful grasp. Quietly amused, the old monkey changes form, revealing himself as none other than Hanuman, the legendary monkey hero and distant half-brother of Bhimabath's sons of the wind god, Vayu. Hanuman smiles gently and reminds Bhima that true strength flows not merely from powerful muscles, but from humility, compassion, and deep calm of mind. Bhima learns firsthand that gentle strength is the most profound kind of power, one that does not seek conquest, but harmony. Far north, among snowy peaks that scratch the sky, Arjuna, the supremely talented archer brother, undertakes his own journey. His footsteps crunch through Himalayan ice toward harsh slopes sacred to the god Shiva. After long meditation and austerity, Arjuna prepares to seek divine favor. But suddenly, his attention catches. Animals scatter in fear as a hunter appears from behind a grove of trees, rugged and fierce, brandishing a bow and challenging Arjuna. Thinking the hunter just another rival, Arjuna shoots arrow after arrow, yet none find their target properly. With surprising grace and ease, the unknown hunter simultaneously counters each arrow effortlessly. Eventually, breathless and stunned, Arjuna humbly pauses and realizes his opponent is no ordinary mortal. The stranger smiles faintly and reveals his true form, a glowing vision of Shiva himself. Deeply impressed by Arjuna's resolve, courage, Lord Shiva bestows the powerful celestial weapon known as the Pashupatastra upon the humbled warrior. Arjuna, bowing in reverence, now grasps a force needing enormous discipline and wisdom armed for the uncertainty ahead. Alongside Shiva, various gods step forth, gifting Arjuna with other powerful celestial weapons. Weapons previously unavailable to ordinary humanity are given into his careful keeping. Most importantly, each divinely granted weapon comes with clear conditions never to be misused, only activated to restore balance. Heavy responsibility now rests squarely in Arjuna's thoughtful heart. Back in the lush depths of the forest, the Pandavas patiently visit hermitages scattered throughout their woodland hideouts. led by wise sages, they enter careful study of statesmanship, diplomacy, and peaceable governance. They absorb the art of medicine from healers skilled in understanding nature's harmony and medicines from forest plants. Vivid astronomical observations teach accuracy in predictions, seasons, calendars, and navigational invaluable knowledge for future kings striving for successful ruling. Amidst this education, another wondrous gift arrives. Legend has it that Suryathi, brilliant Sunday god, himself visits the remarkable Draupadi, wife to the Pandavas. Recognizing the challenges of exile, Surya gives Draupadi a remarkable cooking vessel, an extraordinary bowl capable of producing endless food. With generosity at its center, the vessel offers nourishment sufficient enough to feed any guest graciously welcomed, symbolizing endless hospitality, fully embodying true royal grace, even in harsh circumstances. Months stretch into quiet routines until an alarm comes, a bitter reminder of lurking peril. Jayadratha, a jealous rival king, attempts to seize Draupadi forcibly while the Pandavas are away hunting, but his plot quickly unravels at the fierce intervention of Bhima and Arjuna. Though swiftly thwarted, this troubling event gently alerts everyone to the presence of constant potential dangers despite peaceful forest surroundings. Yudhishthira, a wise eldest Pandava, reflects carefully during these years. Calmly seated beneath the forest trees, he studies ancient manuscripts meticulously, mastering intricate battle formations passed down through generations of strategists. Patient and focused, he deeply understands warfare's subtleties, shaping his careful mind for future clashes. Meanwhile, within their camp, Subhadrath, wife of Arjunacharis, their unborn son, the spirited Abhimanyu. As Arjuna sits beside her, vividly narrating to Subhadra how to break into the complex circular battle formation known as Chakravyuha, his voice carries through the fabric of reality. Within Subhadra's womb, the unborn Abhimanyu absorbs these teachings. Unfortunately, the tale ends prematurely, meaning Abhimanyu's yet unborn learns only how to enter this deadly maze, never how to escape it. It is a half-learned lesson, bittersweet, foreshadowing tragedy, yet unknown. Now the brothers gather again beneath the dense leaves, discussing carefully an important clause. They have spent nearly 12 years wandering in exile, and their agreed terms require one last year spent securely hidden and living anonymously. Successfully concealed identities during this difficult final year can erase the exile's entire burden and allow their rightful return home. As that final year approaches, the Pandavas fashion new identities, adopting disguises of humble servants. They journey quietly from deep forests to the bustling kingdom of Virata, seamlessly blending into society unnoticed. Arjuna becomes Brihanala, a gentle dance and music teacher. Bhima, a strong cook. Yudhishthira assumes a gentle and courtly dice master role. Quietly, they dwell undercover, their true names hidden carefully away. Yet, danger brews. Kichaka, King Virata's fiercest military commander, makes aggressive advances towards Draupadi, unaware of her true royal identity. Outraged, but still anonymous, Bhima secretly confronts Kichaka. A ferocious duel erupts. Bhima's quiet rage silently echoes. Swift justice wins Bhima the victory, dramatically crushing Kichaka to protect Draupadi's honor, subtly hinting their powerful true identities behind humble roles. And soon after, drawn irresistibly to Virata's wealth, rival kingdoms attempt cattle raids, igniting unexpected battles. Driven by duty, the Pandavas must risk exposure, courageously defending their friendly host, King Virata. Though their cover slips and heroic identities begin unraveling, the risks pay off, fearing vital allies who will later support them in wars yet to unfold. Now another stage sets. Heavyweight Krishna journeys tirelessly toward Hastinapura, aiming to avert an inevitable Warone last careful diplomatic mission to broker peace. The Pandavas quietly watch, holding their breath, knowing these peaceful negotiations represent the final countdown. Krishna's mission is urgent and delicate, the last attempt to prevent the looming shadow of war from descending on the known world. Here, beneath vivid tapestries of trees and skies, the forest itself reveals lessons ingrained slowly, deeply, and permanently. Humility learned through hardship, strength tempered by gentleness, wisdom gained from quiet reflection, powerful weapons carefully trusted by the divine. These forest secrets now whisper clearly, preparing the warrior's body, heart, and mind for the turbulent events, yet unseen, but approaching fast on history's horizon. Chapter 4. 18 Days on the Dusty Battlefield. At dawn, conch shells echoed across the plain, clear and brittle in the morning air, signaling readiness and resolve. On the broad, open field at Kurukshetra, nearly 2 million warriors stood assembled, armored, and prepared. The earth trembled slightly beneath feet and hooves. Banners gently waved above the ranks. Each silence inside the minds of those warriors was filled with thoughts of honor, kinship, duty, and uncertainty. This wasn't just a struggle between cousins. It was the culmination of years of political intrigue, jealousy, and broken promises. A tangled family saga had spilled onto this war-torn soil. Now, the two sides stood arrayed clearly. Opposing cousins, the Pandavas on one side and the Kauravas on the other. The open plain, once peaceful farmland, would turn into a battlefield that history would never forget. In the middle stood Arjuna, the greatest archer of the Pandavas, rugged, calm, deeply conflicted. Beside him was Krishna, serving as his charioteer and guide, not bearing weapons himself, only words. Before action started, Arjuna requested Krishna to place their chariot at the center of the opposing armies, allowing him one final clear look at the faces arrayed against him. But as he glanced at familiar figures and beloved facethed, elderly respected Bhishma, his teacher Drona, childhood friends and cousinshi, lowered his bow. Questions filled Arjuna's mind. How can I possibly slay these people? He asked Krishna. My relatives, teachers, and loved ones gathered to fight me. It was at this moment, amid the noise, dust, and trembling anticipation, that Krishna calmly offered advice about the nature of duty, about detachment from results, about doing right actions without expectation of reward. His calm, plain words did not seek grandeur or drama, only clear wisdom. Those ideas forged at that moment became the Bhagavad Gita, the profound yet simple philosophy of taking action without attachment to outcome. Hearing Krishna's words, Arjuna finally steadied himself and took up his bow once more. Soon after, the horns blew again, and the battle began. Immediately, the ancient art and science of warfare revealed itself. Both sides arrayed themselves in sophisticated battle formations, shaped like animals and mythical forms. These patterns were not mere ceremonietch, served distinct, practical roles, harnessing power within carefully structured ranks. The Pandavas opened with the Vajra, thunderbolt formation, sharp, quick, designed to break enemy lines swiftly. The Kauravas countered cleverly with the eagle formation, a spreading set of wings meant to encircle and overwhelm the enemy. Behind this spectacle stood centuries of accumulated expertise passed from guru to student and generation to generation, melding strength, tactics, speed, and discipline. From the very start, Bhishma, the oldest and most experienced warrior of all, dominated the field. His arrows fell relentlessly and precisely, covering the enemy ranks like heavy rain from a thick gray cloud. The entire Pandava force was soon forced into relentless defense. They lost ground with each passing hour. The ancient Bhishma, decades older than most warriors around him, defied logic. His until now hidden power revealed itself strikingly. A master archer, driven not by youthful strength, but by pure technique and unmatched skill. He became a wall repelling every attempt to move forward. Facing desperation, the Pandavas turned at last towards Sakandi a warrior who Bhishma had once known as someone else. Bhishma had sworn earlier in life he'd never take aim at what he saw as a rebirth of a person who was once a woman, now transformed into the capable warrior Sikandi. Seizing this advantage, Arjuna skillfully placed Sikandi in front of him, circumventing Bhishma's defenses. As the sun began setting over the scarred field, arrows finally pierced deep into Bhishma's body. The mighty grandfather fell from his chariot, collapsing on a bed of arrows. Lying pierced, unable to continue fighting, his fall was profound for all who watched, marking a key shift in momentum. Yet more tests quickly arose. Abhimanyu, Arjuna's youthful son, bright-eyed and brave, found himself alone inside the enemy's swirling Chakravyuha complex, layered military formation nearly impossible to escape. Abhimanyu knew how to enter, but had never learned its escape. Still, he pressed on fearlessly, cutting down opponent after opponent, relentlessly clearing paths through the Kaurava armies. Surrounded, isolated, yet fighting brilliantly, he sculpted a crucial moment on this battlefield. Yet inexorably, numbers overwhelmed him as enemy heroes attacked together and pierced the young man's armor now glistening crimson. Surrounded and unprotected, Abhimanyu fell gloriously yet tragically, his death becoming fuel for revenge and deeper despair. With rules breaking down, nighttime fighting emerged. Once considered dishonorable, it now became reality. Calm, structured warfare turned to chaos and shadowy bloodshed beneath pale moonlight. Once sacrosanct rules of honorable combat were dissolving before the warriors' eyes. The Kauravas, guided by desperation, became willing to do whatever necessary to survive, even if it meant staining the ancient honor of war itself. In this chaos, misinformation became a weapon. A rumor, a fake message claiming that Ashwatthamathi, son of Drona, the Pandavas' revered teacher, was dead, reached Drona's ears. Buried by grief, filled with anguish, Drona lost his resolve to fight. Dropping his weapons, closing weary eyes, he opened himself defenselessly to death. And so, another hero exited the field tragically, his honor betrayed by whispers and deceit. At Drona's fall, Karna, the gifted outsider who had long bitterly rivaled Arjuna, stepped forward to lead. Their complex history stretched back to boyhood competitions and lifelong resentment. In this rivalry lay the deepest, most bitter pain. Karna had always felt overlooked, an underdog undeservedly labeled a lower-born man, but always matching Arjuna's skills arrow for arrow. Here on these dusty plains, their rivalry finally became lethal. Fate, however, had chosen sides. On the 17th day of battle, Karna's chariot wheel sank deeply into mud, trapping him helplessly, his greatest advantage suddenly lost. Bound by urgency, desperate to free himself, Karna lowered his weapons briefly to pull his chariot wheel free, pleading for fairness. But acknowledging the bitter exchange of fortune and unfair trials both had endured, Krishna quietly reminded Arjuna of reality. Prompted and driven by bitter inevitability, Arjuna shot a devastating arrow, bringing down his lifelong rival in a poignant, cold moment, sealing Karna's tragic fate. The giant warrior, Ghatotkacha, inspiration and terror on the battlefield, arrived late under darkness, wreaking havoc across enemy ranks, claiming hundreds of foes. Forced desperately to repel a night attack of unprecedented intensity, Duryodhana begged Karna to deploy his one-time, special dart intended for Arjuna, but now wasted on Ghatotkacha. As the weapon found its mark, Ghatotkacha fell, shaking the earth in his final breath. In losing their creature of fear, Pandavas mourned, yet knew Karna now stood weaponless, defenseless against destiny the next day. Shalya, the last notable commander left of the Kauravas, attempted rallying his exhausted, demoralized soldiers. But deep-seated weariness had awoken, talk among troops whispering defeat. Morale collapsed irreversibly as defeat became inevitable. The battle reached climax, as Bhima, the Pandavas' strongest, faced Duryodhana, the Kaurava prince, in brutal mace-to-mace combat. In fierce bitterness but also absolute precision, Bhima struck ruthlessly, shattering Duryodhana's thigh, ending the last genuine resistance, leaving the Kaurava heir to die battered on cracked earth. Yet, cruelty had not ended. Ashwatthama, thirsting bitterly for revenge, crept through tents after nightfall and slaughtered sleeping survivors, committing dark acts that defied even warfare's loosening morality. By day 18's conclusion, silence blanketed the battlefield once alive with activity. Bodies lay scattered across scarred fields, banners shredded, weapons abandoned. A single solemn clarity emerged from that quiet momenta, haunting recognition of cost. Sons, fathers, teachers, friends, nothing remained untouched or unmarked by loss. Within silence echoed questions about what victory truly meant amid the dust and blood now settled silently across Kurukshetra's grievous earth. Chapter 5. Ashes, Lessons, and the End of an Age. The war was done, but no banner of triumph waved, no drum announced victory. Instead, smoke rose silently from smoldering tents sprawled across the battlefield afield. Once vibrant, with life, noise, and ambition, now mute. The Pandavas walked forward slowly, step by step, their feet scraping through ash, their eyes lowered. They had fought fiercely and won, yet as they moved through the remains, they felt only emptiness. They had seen pride and valor set against honor and duty, ideals twisting against each other in unending confusion. Now surrounded by devastation, they understood deeply the cost of their victory and how little it felt like victory at all. Nearby, sheltered in his tent, King Dhritarashtra awaited the Pandavas. Blind since birth, the patient monarch had relied on descriptions and whispers his entire life. Today, grief clenched his heart. Anger mixed with sorrow surged restlessly inside him. When Bhima approached, Dhritarashtra smiled bitterly, calling him forward. "Let me embrace the son who defeated my own." Wise Krishna, alert to emotion's danger, swiftly pushed an iron statue into Dhritarashtra's path instead. Believing it to be Bhima himself, the old king clenched his powerful arms in unimaginable fury. Bones did not snap, nor blood spill, but the iron shattered, metal splintering like fragile wood under his crushing grip. Standing stunned by his own rage, Dhritarashtra wept loudly as grief overcame him, whispering repeatedly, "What have we become?" Gandhari, queen and mother, whose eyes had willingly shared the darkness of her blind husband, now quietly unwrapped her lifelong blindfold for the first and last time. Her vision struck her sharply. An overwhelming rush of suffering rose before her clearly illuminated eyes. Seeing firsthand the Dela dissexed, vacant battlefields strewn with bodies, birds circling silently above lost sons, nephews, cousin-sure grief broke forth. She turned slowly towards Krishna, voice shaking, accusing him bitterly for not halting the slaughter. "You could have stopped this. I hold you accountable. Let your family, your city, vanish in the same mindless destruction." Krishna stood silently, accepting the curse, knowing that all actions carry consequences. No one escapes karma's slow, patient balance. Far away, upon a bed woven painstakingly of arrows, wise old Bhishma, the great general, lingered somewhere between life and death. He knew his journey had reached its end, but waited patiently, determined not to surrender his breath until he spoke clearly to the new king, Yudhishthira. Bhishma urged the troubled king, "Come closer, listen carefully, as I tell you what I learned through long decades of life and war." And he spoke softly, articulating precise lessons of governance, behavior, and ethics, outlining clearly the burdens and balance leadership demands. He spoke of forgiveness, patience, justice guided gently by compassion rather than punishment. His careful words painted an enduring wisdom, offering guidance valuable long after kingdoms crumble. Yudhishthira attempted to engrave each quiet word deeply into memory, aware his duties were only beginning and how hard they would be. When at last Bhishma closed his eyes, peace coming quietly with sunset, Yudhishthira felt heavy chains around his heart. Crowned king, he carried victory like heavy armoret's weight, always pressing upon his conscience. In public, he smiled bravely, portraying a monarch unified with destiny. But privately, alone in his chambers, he questioned every decision made, mourned every life lost in the turbulent waves of war. In the quiet shadows that still lingered upon their wounded lives, their mother Kunti spoke. Carefully, she revealed a painful secret concealed over long, agonizing years. Karna, their greatest enemy, rival, courageous adversary killed on the battlefield, was her firstborn son, the eldest brother of her own sons. Heads bowed, shock spread silently as each brother absorbed the heart-rending truth. Bhima's eyes closed painfully. Arjuna gasped softly in disbelief. Every brother felt both anger and unbearable sorrow, thinking of the unfair life Karna lived in struggle and resentment. Their pain mixed deeply with confusion, how easily fate manipulates, pushing lives unknowingly through intricate webs of irony and tragedy. Slowly, months unfolded. The kingdom required restoration. Bruised lands needed healing. The Pandavas arranged a long-respected ritual, the mighty Ashwamedha horse ceremony. A sacred horse galloped freely through distant lands, followed fiercely by Arjuna, safeguarding peace, quietly emphasizing the strength of unity now solidified. Anxiety brewed under the surface peace newly established, fragile, precariously balanced, like a carefully placed glass. Arjuna moved across kingdoms confidently, yet gently, knowing that strength is best made enduring when used sparingly, cautiously. With the kingdom settled, Krishna journeyed back to Dwaraka, returning home after long absences and heavy responsibilities. But Gandhari's curse silently stalked him across empty fields. One fateful evening, the people of Dwaraka fell into mindless drunkenness, rivalry exploding into violence. Cousins and sons fought recklessly, erupting into bloody tragedy. Destruction engulfed the city, families perishing helplessly in internal battles, curse materializing cruelly. Krishna watched, saddened, powerless to stop fate's relentless turning wheels. When Dwaraka finally dissolved into the waves, Krishna walked quietly towards a distant forest, accepting destiny with calm understanding. There lay tranquility, but also waiting, an innocent hunter mistaking Krishna for a resting deer. One unassuming arrow sped forward, quietly finding its unintended mark, ending Krishna's earthly purpose forever. His role fulfilled, Krishna accepted mortality calmly. Even divine strength remains gently bound by universal law. Fate, karma, and completion. Observing this, grief-stricken yet wiser, the aging Pandavas felt their role had concluded. Quietly, they crowned their young heir, Parikshit, hoping humbly a new generation could carry forward the lessons learned painfully through experience. Together they set forth, slowly climbing upwards toward the Himalayas, a deliberate journey towards quiet renunciation. Difficult forever, this path tested them strongly. Draupadi fell first, strength gently leaving her exhausted body. Then, one by one, the brothers stumbled silently, each falling in turn, pride humbled beneath sheer exhaustion. Only Yudhishthira climbed patiently forward, accompanied simply by a loyal dog quietly padding close behind. Finally, Heaven's Gate appeared softly ahead, gently beckoning. Yet a voice stopped him, guarding entrance, patiently instructing, "You may enter, but the dog cannot accompany you." Pausing slightly, yet confidently, Yudhishthira shook his head, replying firmly and simply, "Then I remain as well. This companion stayed loyally at my side. Cannot loyalty survive even heaven's judgment?" Suddenly, the dog transformed into Dharma, righteousness itself, gently smiling. "Well done," praised the divine entity. "You understood loyalty's essence truly." Before finally giving himself to peace, Yudhishthira glimpsed two visions: hell, filled with pain yet temporary, and heaven, peaceful yet subtle. He heard quietly whispered truths about justice's relativity and the fluidity of perspective understanding, now judgment's deeper nuance. Justice existed not simply as reward or punishment, but as endless cycles balancing cause with consequence. Sensing humanity's deep need to remember such wisdom, the sage Vyasa began dictating each vital detail, carefully narrating this jumbled complexity into the epic called Mahabharata. The elephant-headed scribe Ganesha patiently wrote each word exactly as spoken, preserving timeless truths through generations, continents, and now, as this ancient tale gently closes, these truths softly echo through our lives today. Life demands choice. Choice generates consequence, and every consequence itself births lessons. Reflect carefully. Each small decision nudges history, shaping families and kingdoms alike. The Mahabharata mirrors our own paths, clearly complicated, uncertain, and invites us moment by moment to consider thoughtfully what defines duty, honor, humanity itself.